Alright, I need to prepare for my first assignment. And will... Oh hey! Welcome, duelists! Potato here. Not a doctor. And yeah, you see me with a backpack right now because you know what? I barely passed on the last assignment, which is the entrance exam. Uh, since nobody else graded what I mentioned, apparently they said barely passed. Okay, well, at least we did it. And now I need to go to dueling school, to the academy, so I can now start my journey as a dueling doctor. Now, the first thing that we need to do is go to school. So, let's go to school then. Did I mention it's online classes? Well, yes, it is online classes. The point of the backpack is just useless. Anyway, so today I'm gonna be checking my first assignment. So the director, the principal, is basically telling me that I just need to go through certain grades to actually go for it. And my first assignment will be deck building. Now, deck building is not a really common and complicated thing at the same time to talk about, because there's so many ways that you can build a deck, and there's no right or wrong answer on deck building, because in my opinion, I think that we can go through some certain steps, but like I said, this might not be the right answer. But today we're gonna talk about deck building. Does it work? Let's follow these steps, and this is my opinion on it, so if you wanna take, you don't have to take my word for it. So without further ado, let's start with the instructions, and hopefully I can get a good grade with deck building. So let's go. So the first step is to select the type of deck that you want to play. I will leave this on the right side, which is going to be an example of the deck that I currently use and that I was entrusted by the other duelists that I actually played against. And basically what you need to do is get, there's 4 types of decks that you can play. There's aggro or aggressive, there's control, combo, and stun. Now, I'm saying these 4, I'm sure there are other types, but those 4 that I mentioned are the ones that I know about, and I can explain about them. So aggro is basically going all out and winning on one turn, or what they call OTK. Combo decks is that the combo starts with either 1 or 2 cards, and they start piling up until they can have a board setup. Board setup means that they can either have spells, traps, monsters, negates. I don't want to go into too much detail. Combo decks are usually complicated to actually play, but if you want to learn this type of deck, I would recommend looking it up, and that way you can have a better understanding of how it works. There's control decks like this one. This deck is usually setting up a board to protect yourself going into defense, and once they have an opportunity and disrupted the opponent, they can go either all out to win the game, or just focus on a play to maybe damage the opponent, and then after that you can just protect yourself if you cannot giving the finishing blow, and that way protect yourself again, and then go for game after that. And the last one, which is stun, usually there are people that don't like this type of decks because it's basically stall and burn. Stall means that the opponent, the player, will stall the opponent in forcing to destroy their field, and basically almost to a point that you can deck them out, which means they cannot draw any cards from the deck anymore. And the other thing is that there are cards in Duel Links that can burn the opponent. They make some damage. Now, by this point in right now, burn damage is halved, which means that it takes half of the damage that it usually takes on a real life card in the TCG. Now, there's some cards that do give out all the burn damage, and some of them, like, they're modified. So just be aware of that if you decide to make this type of deck. So once you have the type of deck that you want to play, the next step is going to be information and deck balancing. So if you don't investigate the archetype that you're gonna do, you just need to keep your deck balanced. It requires checking the cards that you need, verifying the ban list, if there are cards that are limited or banned. You need to check all those cards. Usually in limited and banned cards, it shows like a number or a symbol on it. So you just need to be aware of that. Investigating is really important so you can understand more about the game, and that way you can verify the type of choices that you're gonna make. It's okay if you don't investigate. You don't have to necessarily do that. Like I said previously, playing it blind and try to figure things out yourself is one of the things that makes the game important, and that way you can figure it out. If you make a mistake, it's because you didn't know about it, or if you needed some kind of information. Because usually when we go through a process of reading a card, usually we don't read it, and just when the time that we find out, it's already too late and your opponent already made a play. So yeah, keeping your deck balanced, investigating through websites. There's also videos that you can verify that will actually help you or give you wrong information. So just take it with a grain of salt. Just to make sure, deck building requires a balanced state of 20 to 30 cards. 20 is the minimum, maximum is 21 to 30. Deck balancing will mean, depending on the type of deck that you play, monsters are important, but also spells and traps. And depending on the type of deck that you decided on, in this case, on my perspective, on this deck, it only has monsters and spells, because it requires to have a control setup. And basically, when I have the ability that my opponent cannot do anything, that's when next turn I go to strike and just go for the play. Also, be aware that there's skills in Duel Links. So certain skills do other things, like, for example, this one has the ability to, if you have a certain monster on the field, it allows you to set out a trap from outside of the deck. So just be careful, and also there's requirements to have that specific skill to work. So also investigate and read what the skills do. Another step that you can do is testing your deck. Yes, you have to test your deck against either other players, against the AI, which is the duelists that are on the dueling world, or if you want to try it, you can also play ranked or casual duels. That way you can test your deck and see if it works. Now, depending on the deck that you made, if you don't have all the cards right away, keeping it balanced and try to see if there are some cards that can help you after you investigated, or if you didn't investigate. Just test what you have. Test. If you have another thing that say, oh, I placed this card but it's not working out for me, I keep losing because I draw this specific card, or it's already over when I get it. It's really important that you do keep that in mind. So testing, if you don't have friends at the beginning, or if you got invited by somebody, also practicing it will make you stronger, and that way you can figure out how things work in the game. Another step that you can do, which confines with the last one, is refining your deck. Once you have the deck set up, if there are cards that you're missing, you can also farm for gems. If you're a free-to-play player, just farming for gems by leveling up your characters, and there are certain other events that appear in the game. You don't have to play ranked, because there's two types of duelists that come into the game. There's the casuals that like to play against friends in duel rooms, and then there's rank competitive, where they try to go into win tournaments, try to be the best duelist that there is in the game. And also getting competitive would mean that it goes into a higher level than the casuals. Now, I'm not saying that casuals cannot play competitive, but what I will say is that casual players can also play ranked, because ranking up also gives you gems. Would I recommend casual players to go to Kingdom Games? That is up to you to decide if you want to go that far. You can make a goal for it. But yeah. And the most important step that you need to do if you're a casual player is having fun. Having fun is the most important thing. Obviously, everybody wants to win. Nobody likes losing. And if you're saying that you don't care about losing, well, props to you, because usually there are people that really just want to win. So if you're casual and you don't succeed with your deck after testing, refining your deck, and all that stuff, just have fun. Usually people forget that this is a game made for kids, and people that start playing the game, they get frustrated because of a certain archetype, or if there are decks that are overpowered and you play against them casually against friends, and you lose all the time. Well, that will give you a better goal to see what can defeat the deck of your friend or the opponent. And for ranked players, they're at a whole different level. Competitive is just out of this world. There's so many things that we can say about that, but yeah. Casual duelist, free to play duelist, everybody, enjoy the deck that you play. And competitive, I would suggest that you enjoy the deck that you play as well. Sometimes your deck could be top tier and then they get nerfed, but if you like the deck, just adapt to your surroundings and try to defeat the meta. If by any chance the deck that you enjoy cannot go for it and cannot defeat the what it's overpowered, don't get discouraged. There's always a way to defeat the top tier dual decks. In conclusion, deck building is something that it's common for the average and competitive Duel Links player. New duelist, I would recommend that you do this blind, figure things out. All the steps that you need to do is basically important. This is just my opinion on it, and just have fun. What do you think of it? I need to get a good grade for this. Hopefully I explained it, because that's one thing that I also need to do on this journey. Explain things better. This is a character arc that I need to go for, and hopefully I can make it. But yeah, tell me, what do you think? Is my explanation good or bad? What's your take on it? What would you recommend new duelists for this? Well, I'll see you next week, and let's see what grade do I get on, and what's the next assignment. So without further ado, this is Potato signing out, and I'll see you next week. Goodbye.